You wake up every morning, and before your feet touch the floor, before your phone lights up your face, before the noise of the world begins its sermon to your soul, you must speak truth to yourself, because if you do not, the world will gladly lie to you all day long. You are not a neutral being drifting through neutral territory. You are at war. Your heart will drift, your mind will wander, your flesh will beg to be obeyed, and the culture will preach a gospel of comfort, self-exaltation, and ease. So you must preach to yourself before you listen to anyone else. You must look yourself in the mirror and speak with sobriety, with weight, with fear, and with hope. Because this day is not insignificant, and neither is your soul. Tell yourself that you are not your own. You did not create yourself. You do not sustain yourself. And you will not judge yourself in the end. Every breath in your lungs is borrowed. Every heartbeat is granted. You exist under authority, whether you acknowledge it or not. The lie of the age is autonomy, but autonomy has never saved a single soul. You belong to something greater than your appetites and your opinions. When you forget this, you become small, ruled by moods and cravings. When you remember this, your life gains gravity. You are accountable, and that accountability is not a burden meant to crush you, but a truth meant to awaken you from the dream that you are the center of the universe. Tell yourself that this day matters eternally. You will never live this day again. It will not be rewound, revised, or replayed. Every word you speak, every thought you entertain, every action you take is moving you somewhere. There is no standing still. You are either being conformed to truth or pressed into the shape of this world. Neutrality is a myth we tell ourselves to excuse laziness. The way you speak to your spouse, the way you work when no one is watching, the way you treat the weak and inconvenient, all of it echoes beyond this morning. Eternity is not merely future. It is already leaning into the present. Tell yourself that your heart is not a trustworthy guide. It is deep, complex, and capable of great affection, but it is also capable of self-deception beyond measure. If you wake up and simply follow what you feel, you will be led in circles. Feelings are wonderful servants and terrible masters. Discipline, truth, and conviction must take the lead. You do not need to feel motivated to be faithful. You need to be faithful, and motivation will often follow obedience like a shadow follows the body. Do not bow to every emotion as though it were a king. Tell yourself that suffering is not an interruption of your life, but a part of it. The world has promised you comfort, and when comfort does not arrive, you assume something has gone wrong. But difficulty has always been a teacher. Pressure reveals what is true. Fire exposes what is real. When trials come, they are not proof of abandonment, but an invitation to endurance, humility, and depth. If you spend your life running from discomfort, you will remain shallow. If you accept it with faith, you will be shaped by it. Strength is not formed in ease. Tell yourself that obedience is better than self-expression. You have been told to be true to yourself, but no one ever stopped to ask whether the self needed to be challenged, corrected, or transformed. Truth is not discovered by looking inward alone. There are things you must do today that your flesh will resist, words you must speak that will cost you, boundaries you must maintain that will make you unpopular. Do not trade integrity for applause. Applause is fleeting. Integrity lasts when the lights are off and the crowd is gone. Tell yourself that time is a gift and a test. You are not owed tomorrow. The fact that you woke up is mercy, not entitlement. You will spend the hours of this day on something, and whatever you spend them on will shape you. Time wasted is not neutral. It slowly hollows you out. Do not live as though you have an endless supply of mornings. Live as though each one is a stewardship. Guard your attention. Guard your focus. What you repeatedly look at, think about, and chase will eventually become what you love. Tell yourself that humility is not weakness. The world equates humility with low self-esteem, but humility is clarity. It is seeing yourself accurately. It is knowing your limitations without despair and recognizing your responsibilities without arrogance. Pride makes you defensive and fragile. Humility makes you teachable and resilient. When corrected, the proud harden. When corrected, the humble grow. Choose growth over image. Choose truth over the need to be right. Tell yourself that love is not a feeling you fall into, but a decision you walk out. Real love costs. It requires patience when patience is exhausted, kindness when kindness is inconvenient, forgiveness when the wound is still tender. You will have opportunities today to love in ways that go unnoticed. Do not despise those moments. They are the truest measures of who you are becoming. Grand gestures impress crowds. Quiet faithfulness shapes souls. Tell yourself that you are not as strong as you think, and that is not a reason for despair. You were never meant to be self-sufficient. Dependence is not a flaw, it is a design. When you pretend to be strong enough on your own, you cut yourself off from help, wisdom, and grace. Acknowledging weakness is the doorway to real strength. The strongest people are not those who never fall, but those who know where to run when they do. Tell yourself that repentance is not humiliation, but freedom. Admitting sin does not diminish you. Hiding it does. The weight you feel when you cling to guilt is not nobility, it is bondage. There is no growth without honesty, and no honesty without humility. Do not spend the day defending yourself in your own mind. Lay down the excuses. Own the failure. Turn from it. A clean conscience is worth more than a flawless reputation. Tell yourself that you are being watched, even when you are alone. Character is revealed in secrecy. The person you are when no one is applauding is the person you truly are. The small compromises you justify today become the chains you struggle with tomorrow. Integrity is not built in moments of crisis, but in ordinary choices made consistently. Choose what is right when it is easy to choose what is hidden. Tell yourself that hope is not optimism. Optimism says things will probably work out. Hope says there is meaning even if they do not. Hope anchors you when circumstances shift. It allows you to work diligently without being crushed by outcomes you cannot control. Despair paralyzes. Hope steadies. Lift your eyes beyond immediate results. Faithfulness is never wasted, even when it seems unseen. Tell yourself that gratitude is an act of warfare. Complaining comes naturally. Gratitude must be chosen. When you give thanks, you are declaring that provision is greater than lack, that mercy outweighs disappointment. Gratitude recalibrates your vision. It reminds you of what has been given rather than what has been withheld. A thankful heart is not blind to pain. It simply refuses to let pain have the final word. Tell yourself that this life is not about your comfort, but your transformation. Comfort asks, how do I feel? Transformation asks, who am I becoming? One will keep you safe and small. The other will stretch you, confront you, and ultimately refine you. If your highest goal is to avoid pain, you will avoid growth. If your highest goal is truth, you will endure hardship with purpose. Do not measure the day by how easy it was, but by how faithful you were. And after you have told yourself these things, do not merely nod in agreement and move on as though words alone have power. Let them press on you. Let them unsettle you. Let them drive you to action. Speak them again when the day pushes back, when fatigue whispers compromise, when fear suggests retreat, when pride demands defense, when comfort offers a softer road, when obedience feels costly, when no one is watching, when the weight of responsibility feels heavy, when the temptation to delay what must be done today begins to sound reasonable. When you are tempted to believe that this morning was just like every other morning and therefore insignificant, when in truth it was another undeserved opportunity to live with reverence, courage, and resolve, another chance to walk straight in a crooked world, another moment to deny yourself, take up your responsibility, and move forward with a seriousness that does not crush joy but deepens it, because joy was never meant to be shallow or cheap. It was meant to be anchored in truth, tested by fire, and carried by those who understand that waking up is not the finish line, but the summons to live as though what you do today actually matters, because it does. Whether you feel it or not, whether anyone notices or not, whether the reward is immediate or delayed, because the unseen always outlasts the seen, and the person you are becoming is being shaped right now, in this morning, in these choices, in this resolve, in this quiet decision to stop drifting and start walking with purpose, with fear, with hope, with a weight that refuses to treat another day as ordinary, because ordinary days are the ones that form extraordinary faith. And this one has already begun. If you do not speak truth to yourself every day, something else will gladly take that role, and it will not be gentle with your soul. The world is not silent. It is preaching constantly, shaping your desires, redefining right and wrong, promising freedom while quietly forging chains. Your flesh is not passive either. It wakes up hungry, impatient, defensive, craving comfort and recognition. Your emotions rise and fall like the tide, convincing you in one moment that you are strong and in the next that you are defeated. If you simply wake up and move into the day without confronting yourself with truth, you are not being neutral. You are surrendering ground. Most people assume the battle begins out there, in circumstances, in relationships, in pressures and temptations. But the real battlefield is within. What you believe in the quiet of the morning will determine how you respond in the heat of the day. If you allow your thoughts to wander unchecked, they will drift toward fear, pride, resentment, or indulgence. The mind never stays empty. It will either be filled intentionally with truth or instinctively with whatever is loudest and most convenient. That is why discipline of thought is not optional. It is survival. The world tells you that you are basically good, that your instincts can be trusted, that fulfillment comes from expressing yourself without restraint. But daily life proves otherwise. Left alone, selfishness grows effortlessly, bitterness takes root quickly, laziness feels natural, lust does not need to be invited, pride does not need to be taught. If you do not confront these realities honestly, you will begin excusing them, renaming them, justifying them until they feel normal. Truth, when spoken daily, acts like a mirror that refuses to flatter. It exposes without destroying and corrects without condemning. Your flesh will argue with truth. It will tell you that today you deserve rest when what you really need is discipline. It will tell you to avoid hard conversations, to delay obedience, to choose what feels good now instead of what is right. The flesh is persuasive because it speaks in your own voice. It does not shout, it whispers. It frames disobedience as self-care and compromise as wisdom. If you are not grounded in truth before that voice begins its negotiation, you will confuse surrender with peace. Emotions are powerful, but they are unstable guides. You can wake up feeling confident and go to bed discouraged. You can feel justified in anger and later realize you were ruled by pride. Emotions respond to circumstances, not eternal realities. When they are allowed to lead, truth is bent to fit how you feel rather than how things are. Speaking truth to yourself does not mean denying emotion. It means placing emotion in its proper place. Feelings must be acknowledged but not enthroned. Every day you will interpret events. A word spoken to you, a look given or withheld, a success, a failure, a delay, a disappointment. Interpretation happens instantly, often unconsciously. If truth is not already established in your mind, interpretation will default to insecurity, suspicion, or self-exaltation. You will assume the worst of others, magnify your own importance, or shrink back in fear. Truth steadies interpretation. It slows reaction. It reminds you that not everything is about you, and not every discomfort is a threat. The discipline of preaching truth to yourself requires intentionality because lies are effortless. Lies align with comfort. Lies require no resistance. Truth often confronts you before it comforts you. It demands humility. It calls you to responsibility. It strips away excuses. That is why people avoid it, delay it, soften it. But truth ignored does not disappear, it waits. It grows heavier with time. What could have been corrected early becomes harder to uproot later. When you do not anchor yourself in truth, you become reactive. You live at the mercy of circumstances. A good day makes you grateful. A bad day makes you cynical. Praise inflates you. Criticism crushes you. Your sense of worth swings wildly because it is attached to performance and perception. Truth grounds you in something deeper than outcomes. It reminds you who you are and who you are not. It frees you from the exhausting task of proving yourself. The world thrives on distraction. Constant noise keeps people from thinking deeply. When you are distracted, you are easily led. You consume without reflection. You react without discernment. Truth requires stillness. It requires the courage to sit with uncomfortable realities. Many avoid this because silence exposes what noise hides. Speaking truth to yourself each day is an act of resistance against a culture that profits from your confusion. Without truth, even good desires can become disordered. Ambition can become idolatry. Rest can become escape. Confidence can become arrogance. Compassion can become compromise. Truth does not destroy desire, it purifies it. It teaches you when to press forward and when to wait, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to endure and when to walk away. Wisdom grows where truth is consistently revisited. Self-deception is rarely sudden. It is usually gradual, built on small concessions. You stop questioning certain thoughts. You stop challenging certain habits. You stop examining motives. Over time, what once troubled your conscience becomes familiar. Truth interrupts that process. It reawakens sensitivity. It restores weight to things that were becoming casual. It reminds you that small things are never small in the long run. Preaching truth to yourself is not about harshness, but clarity. It is not self-condemnation, but self-governance. You are deciding who will lead your inner life. If you do not take that role seriously, something else will take it for you. And whatever takes it will not have your long-term good in view. The flesh wants immediate relief. The world wants conformity. Emotions want expression. Truth wants formation. There will be days when truth feels heavy. It will confront laziness when you are tired. It will call for courage when you are afraid. It will demand forgiveness when you would rather withdraw. In those moments, truth will feel like resistance rather than freedom. But freedom is not the absence of resistance. It is the power to choose what is right despite resistance. That power grows with practice. When you speak truth to yourself daily, you begin to recognize lies more quickly. You become less impressed by empty promises. You develop discernment. You notice when something sounds appealing but contradicts reality. This does not make life easier, but it makes it steadier. You are no longer surprised by struggle or shaken by difficulty. You expect opposition, both internal and external, and you are prepared for it. Truth also humbles you. It reminds you of your limitations. It exposes your need for help. Pride thrives where truth is avoided. Humility grows where truth is welcomed. A humble person is not weak. They are anchored. They are not constantly defending an image because they are not pretending to be something they are not. Truth frees you from performance. The more consistently you confront yourself with truth, the less power shame has over you. Shame feeds on secrecy and avoidance. Truth brings things into the light where they can be dealt with honestly. You stop running from yourself. You stop pretending. You begin to live integrated rather than divided, where what you think, say, and do align more closely. This daily practice does not make you immune to failure. You will still stumble. You will still struggle, but you will recover more quickly because you will recognize what is happening. You will not spiral into despair or denial. Truth shortens the distance between failure and repentance, between awareness and correction. If you neglect this discipline, the opposite happens. You drift, you rationalize, you blame. You become increasingly defensive because deep down you sense the instability. Life begins to feel reactive and chaotic. Small problems feel overwhelming. You are constantly tired, not because life is heavy, but because you are carrying it without direction. Speaking truth to yourself daily is an act of leadership over your own soul. It is choosing formation over indulgence, clarity over comfort, responsibility over excuse. It is not glamorous. No one applauds it. It happens in ordinary mornings, in quiet decisions, before anyone sees you. But those unseen moments determine who you will be when pressure comes, when temptation arises, when suffering visits, when success tests your character, when failure exposes what you are built on. The world will continue to speak. Your flesh will continue to desire. Your emotions will continue to fluctuate. That will not change. What can change is who you listen to first, who you allow to have the loudest voice, who defines reality for you before the day defines it for you, because the person who controls the narrative inside, you will ultimately shape the direction of your life, your responses, your endurance, your integrity, your peace, your resilience, your ability to stand firm when everything around you shifts and demands that you bend, when the easier path is compromise and the quieter voice of truth calls you to remain steady, grounded and awake while the world rushes forward half asleep, mistaking impulse for freedom and noise for meaning.